For over a century, Disney has sold a single promise: magic. Castles, princesses, talking animals, heroic journeys, and happily ever after. From its founding in 1923 by Walt Disney and Roy O. Disney, the company built an empire on innocence and imagination. Today, the Walt Disney Company controls not only animated films but Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Fox, ABC, ESPN, and one of the largest theme park networks on Earth. It shapes childhoods, it shapes culture, it shapes global storytelling. But behind the fireworks and fairy dust lies a far more calculated story. Disney's rise wasn't just creativity, it was consolidation. It was aggressive copyright protection. It was union conflicts. It was controversial political battles. It was quiet cultural influence on a global scale. The brand represents wonder. The corporation represents power. And when a company controls so many stories, characters, and distribution channels, the line between entertainment and influence becomes blurred. This is the darker side of the magic. Walt Disney is often remembered as a visionary dreamer. And he was. But he was also a demanding executive operating in an era of ruthless competition. In the 1930s and 1940s, as Disney Studios expanded rapidly after the success of Snow White in 1937, tensions inside the company began to rise. Animators worked long hours under strict supervision. Creative credit was centralized around Walt's name, even when large teams did the work. In 1941, dissatisfaction exploded into the Disney animators' strike. Employees protested pay inequality and lack of recognition. Walt Disney, who saw himself as a paternal figure to his staff, took the strike personally. He later accused union organizers of communist influence, a claim that reflected the political paranoia of the time. Disney would eventually testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1947, naming individuals he believed were agitators. The strike damaged internal morale and permanently altered the company's culture. It also revealed something rarely discussed in fairy tales. The Magic Factory was built on disciplined labor and corporate hierarchy. Walt Disney was both an innovator and a strict manager. The brand celebrated imagination. The studio operated with precision and control. One of Disney's most controversial legacies involves intellectual property law. Mickey Mouse first appeared publicly in 1928. Under original copyright law, the character would have entered the public domain decades ago. But over time, copyright terms were repeatedly extended, including a major expansion in 1998 with the Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act. Critics often referred to it as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. Disney has aggressively defended its intellectual property, pursuing legal action against small businesses, daycare centers, and independent creators who used its characters without authorization. The company argues that protecting its assets is essential to sustaining creative investment. Opponents argue that such aggressive enforcement limits cultural sharing and stifles creativity. Disney's legal team became legendary for its vigilance. Even minor infringements could result in cease and desist letters. The strategy worked. Disney built one of the most protected character libraries in history. But it also sparked debate about how much cultural power one company should hold over stories that feel almost universal. Disneyland opened in 1955. Walt called it the happiest place on Earth. The parks were revolutionary, immersive environments where storytelling extended into physical space. But behind the perfect smiles and spotless streets lies an intricate operational system. Employees are not called workers, they are cast members. Costumes are called wardrobe. Every interaction is scripted to reinforce immersion. The illusion is intentional, but working conditions have drawn criticism over the years. Reports have surfaced of low wages for some park employees, especially in high-cost areas like Anaheim and Orlando. In 2018, union negotiations in California led to wage increases after public pressure revealed that some employees struggled to afford housing. Meanwhile, park prices have steadily increased. Ticket costs have multiplied over decades, pushing the experience further out of reach for many families. Disney argues that pricing reflects operational scale and demand. Yet critics see a widening gap between the image of accessible magic and the reality of premium exclusivity. Behind every parade and fireworks show is a corporation carefully balancing brand enchantment with financial performance. Under CEO Bob Iger, who took leadership in 2005, Disney entered its most aggressive expansion phase. Pixar was acquired in 2006, Marvel in 2009, Lucasfilm in 2012, 21st Century Fox in 2019. Each acquisition strengthened Disney's dominance over global entertainment. By the early 2020s, Disney controlled an extraordinary portion of the box office. Superheroes, Star Wars, animated classics, all under one roof. The company didn't just produce content, it owned franchises with generational loyalty. But consolidation raised alarms. When fewer corporations control more storytelling power, creative diversity can narrow. Independent studios struggle to compete with billion-dollar marketing budgets. Theater chains became increasingly dependent on Disney blockbusters. Disney argues acquisitions allow beloved properties to thrive with strong funding and global distribution. Critics argue the strategy reduces competition and centralizes cultural influence. The Magic Kingdom had quietly become a media empire. In recent years, Disney has found itself at the center of political conflict. In 2022, the company publicly opposed Florida's parental rights in education bill. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responded by moving to revoke Disney's special self-governing district status, which had granted the company significant autonomy over its theme park operations since 1967. The dispute escalated into a high-profile legal and political battle. What once appeared to be a neutral entertainment company was suddenly in direct conflict with state government leadership. At the same time, Disney faced cultural criticism from multiple directions. Some audiences accused the company of becoming overly political in its storytelling. Others argued it was not progressive enough. In the age of social media, every casting decision, storyline, or corporate statement becomes amplified. Disney's challenge is no longer just storytelling, it is navigating global political polarization while maintaining brand cohesion. The fairy tale has become a balancing act. Disney launched Disney Plus in 2019, entering direct competition with Netflix and Amazon. The platform grew rapidly, leveraging exclusive access to Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and classic Disney films. But streaming is expensive. Content production costs soared, subscriber growth slowed in some regions, internal restructuring followed, leadership shifts occurred. Bob Chapek replaced Bob Iger in 2020, only for Iger to return in 2022 amid financial pressure and strategic uncertainty. The streaming war exposed a new vulnerability. Even giants must adapt quickly in the digital era. Traditional cable networks declined. Theme parks faced pandemic closures in 2020, leading to massive revenue drops and layoffs. For a company built on perpetual growth, stagnation is dangerous. Disney remains powerful, but it is no longer untouchable. Disney built childhood memories. It built beloved characters. It built worlds that feel eternal. But it also built one of the most concentrated entertainment empires in modern history. It fiercely protects its intellectual property. It strategically acquires competitors. It navigates political controversy with calculated messaging. It balances enchantment with corporate precision. Walt Disney once said he hoped the company would always remember that it was started by a mouse. Today it is sustained by market dominance, global distribution networks, and billion-dollar franchises. Is Disney a cultural treasure? Undeniably. Is it a powerful corporate machine? Absolutely. The magic is real. But so is the strategy behind it. And when you control the stories the world grows up with, you control more than entertainment. You influence imagination itself.